Welcome. So today we're going to be going through a simple day for night transition setup. This is going to be a small scene that we're going to be converting from a daytime to a nighttime interior. Sometimes on locations, you'll find that you're limited by the time that you can be there. So doing these transitions is an easy way to get around those limitations. So let's get into it. Okay, so here we are. This is our simple office scene. What I'm gonna do first is I'm gonna close as many curtains as possible. I'm gonna close as many doors as possible because we're gonna need to get this room as dark as we can. So the first thing that I'm noticing when I'm looking at this scene is this massive window here. So this is a big problem because in a nighttime scene, we would not be feeling anything outside this window. So what I'm gonna do next is I'm actually gonna change the white balance of my camera just from standard daylight, 5600 Kelvin, down to somewhere closer to 4000 Kelvin. And that is actually just gonna create a bit of a bluer feel to that light coming through. I have been quite intentional actually when choosing when to film this to make sure that the sun is never actually shining directly into the room. Having direct sun rays is very challenging to get rid of unless you are just gonna be blacking it out completely. What I do next is I take a piece of diffusion. This is just quarter silk, but you can use something thicker. You can use a shower curtain, a bed sheet, even just straight blackout over the window if you really want to darken things off. This is gonna be super helpful just to hide any texture out the window. It's also going to be useful just to reduce any contrast if you have bright sunlight. What I would normally do is actually hang this from the outside of the window, but unfortunately in this scene we are on a double story. But you'll see now this is actually okay. What I'm going to do next is I'm actually going to add shears. So shears are just a beautiful way of just softening the light off, something that we can put right in the frame and no one will ask any questions. So you'll see here that we've actually managed to create quite a nice dusk feeling scene, which is beautiful, but not quite the look we're going for. From there, I actually went on to just completely close majority of the curtain. So pretty much closing it completely up, just leaving a small gap to see a bit of that blue glow coming through the side of the window there. So next, we have a pretty dark scene. We're gonna turn on some practicals. So I've got a little lamp here, and what we're gonna do now is we are just gonna need to add a bit more ambience to the room. So I'm using one of these Nanlite Pavo tubes, and this is just gonna be set up here out of frame, shooting up into the roof, setting this light to that 5600 Kelvin, and that is just gonna be lifting the ambience. Okay, so now that our scene is not completely black, we're gonna start to add some lights that are motivated by those practicals. So what I've done is I've added one of these Aperture MC Pros, and what I love about them is they have this magnetic grid that we can stick onto it and have a lot of control over spill of the light. So I'm gonna place this light up in the top corner of the room out of the scene. That is just gonna bring out the subject in the scene. So here is me awkwardly standing on the table, trying to convince you that there is an edge light there. What we wanna do is we want to add a bit of a key light, something that feels like it is kicking some light from this computer monitor. So I'm gonna add another one of these tubes. I'm gonna set this one though to 4000, which is the white balance of our camera. And this is just gonna ensure we get nice clean skin tones. So after popping it in here, it just wasn't really working. So it made me just rethink the scene just a little bit. I think a big issue was actually the ND that I had on. I used one of these Polar Pro NDs. And so I decided to actually remove this for the sake of brightening up that monitor over there. So as you see here now, we are now getting much more glow from that monitor. And so that is great. I also decided that I want a bit more depth in the scene, and so I've decided to adjust the focal length. I'm going to go onto a 50mm. I was previously using a 35mm. Compositionally, it just felt a lot better, and it helped create some separation between me and the background. So here's our frame since we made that adjustment, but after taking out that ND, our practical was now blowing out, and so I had to make a plan. Unfortunately, I didn't have any dimmers or any way of darkening off that lamp. The only option that I had in this case was to simply just cover it with some props just to bring down the attention from that hot spot back there. And so a combination of that and bringing down the ambience, once again, our scene was feeling quite a lot better. So I went in and decided to add that key light again, and here is what the result looked like. And that is looking a lot better, a lot more natural, a lot more motivated, and just overall a beautiful nighttime scene. So here's where we were before, and here is where we are now with our nighttime office scene. So there we go, a simple day for night transition scene. Hopefully there are some tips and tricks that you have picked up just by watching through this that you can take into your next project. Let me know what you think in the comments, and thanks so much for watching.